The Astros put a cherry on top of what's been a disastrous 72 hours by mutually parting ways with lame duck general manager Dana Brown, giving Houston's most bloodthirsty fan the head on the pike they wanted. Now what? Des from Apollo joins me to talk about these eventful last couple of days for the Astros, who also, two epic collapses against the homeless A's. Plus, the Texans trade for a guy who's owned them, and the worst person you know not only apologized, but got rewarded. I'm Paul Gallant. This is the Gallant Says podcast for Monday, August 24th of 2026. Hit it!
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You're definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Are you kidding me?
One thing was wrong with you.
Oi!
Hey! Oi! Oi!
Ziggy-zag, ziggy-zag, oi.
We're live on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. It didn't take a genius to know that the Astros were going to get rid of general manager Dana Brown. It's just not been good. The guys he's brought in haven't worked. Look at the starting rotation. Look at the rotating wheel of randos in the outfield. It's not good. Is it ever going to change? Not with Dana Brown. And it probably won't change by the end of the year unless there's some sort of angels in the outfield divine intervention helping the Houston Astros out. This was going to happen eventually. I just don't get why it happened now. Is it really because of how embarrassing this past weekend was for the Astros? Because it feels like that. It feels like Jim Crane, owner of this team, saw them blow a 3-1 lead on Saturday, a game in which Joe Espada's unfortunate point led them to pulling Hunter Brown out of a game that he wanted to stay in. Did it affect the outcome of the game? No. But it looks bad. And then Sunday, a game Joe Espada couldn't manage because of personal reasons. He'll be back with the team in New York City starting tomorrow for their series against the Yankees. But the Astros had a 6-0 lead against the homeless A's, and they blew that, and they lost. Wrapping up a homestand against three dying American League West teams, the Mariners, the Angels, the A's, and they lost all three series. I'm trying to figure out why, all of a sudden, Jim Crane would make this happen. Because I remember getting that email at about, 10 o'clock or so? And that email that I saw was about the Astros moving on from Dana Brown. We got a statement. Effective today, the Houston Astros and general manager Dana Brown have mutually agreed to part ways. Mutually, get the fuck out of here. Brown's contract was set to expire at the end of this season. Brown's responsibilities will be transitioned to the Astros assistant general managers Charles Cook, Gavin Dickey, Connor Huff, and to senior advisor Jeff Bagwell. Astros owner and chairman Jim Crane will oversee baseball operations through the transition period as the team continues to focus on the American League West division race. Brown has been the general manager since January 26th of 2023. Said Crane of Dana, over the past 4 seasons, Dana has helped our organization win 2 division titles and has led our baseball front office through key scouting, draft, and development efforts. On behalf of the Astros, I wish to thank him for his commitment, energy, and contributions to our organization. We wish he and his family the best. Nicest firing ever. But it's a firing. They didn't want to keep him around anymore. He hadn't done enough. I get why it happened. I just don't get why it happened now. Unless Jim Crane was embarrassed and Jim Crane was being reactionary. And perhaps pandering a little bit towards this bloodthirsty fan base that has been calling for Joe Espada's head in the same way they were calling for Dusty Baker's head. And by the way, that was the second part of today's news, where for a moment in time, we thought that Joe Espada had been informed that he was not getting a new contract at the end of the year. Bob Nightingale put that out. But then we got conflicting reports from Chandler Rome at The Athletic. I'm trusting Chandler over Bob 10 times out of 10. So Espada's sticking around, but there's this weirdness in the air hanging over him because they moved on from Brown already. They're going into this huge series against the Yankees in the Bronx. It's their toughest series the remainder of August before a brutal stretch to open up the month of September. And all I can think of is, why would he do this other than he's being reactionary? He's being angry. It's me. Like the time you watched me on the show, grabbing that coffee mug and throwing it on the ground because I was talking and it was muted. It feels reactionary. It feels like you're pandering to the masses, giving them the blood that they've wanted, going all the way back to the ancient days of Rome. People love to see people get got. We're not any better. We just project that we're better. We go online and say, oh, isn't it awful? Think about his family. No one's actually feeling that way, but they project it. And then you've got the worst of the worst online, those Astros fans. And let's be honest, I'm kind of one too. Spoiled, bandwagony. I refuse to watch both Saturday and Sunday's games. I'm not watching a 500 baseball team take on the A's. No, sorry, not doing it. I'll watch them play against the Yankees. I ain't watching a game against the A's. But people like me, the spoiled ones, are the ones who call for a head, and then they don't really think about, what do we do next? Because what is next? You already missed the opportunity to move on from Joe Espada if you wanted to in the middle of the year. I honestly thought when the Phillies moved on from their manager, when the Red Sox moved on from their manager, I thought that was going to be the moment where the Astros and Jim Crane, who is reactionary. Why do you think he brought in Tatsuya Ima? He saw all these Japanese players coming in. He goes to Japan once. He comes back, not with a kimono and a katana, but with a Japanese pitcher that he's paying way too much for. He's reactionary. And in this moment in time, it just feels on brand. Bad weekend. Here we go again. I got to do something. I got to pander to these people. The vibes at Dyken Park are bad. No one likes Dana Brown. People are getting sick of Joe Espada. I'm going to do something. But this isn't going to get the vibes to be better. And I really wonder in the clubhouse, how are people looking at themselves right now and at this situation? This is a tough Astros team that's been through a lot. And for all we know, they're going to have a great open to the month of September when they play real teams instead of, just looking sloppy against all these bums like they have for the past 10 days or so since the trade deadline as well. Maybe they do rally, but God, the clubhouse vibes have got to suck. The flight to New York must have been awkward, quiet. They're wondering, wait, is Joe going to join us here after missing Sunday's game with whatever he was dealing with? This is a tough clubhouse. They've been through a lot. They've also been through a lot of changes. This is not the 2017 clubhouse anymore. This is not the 2020, 2021 post-scandal clubhouse either. So why now and what's next? Firing someone is something you do generally after the year. It shows accountability. And it also, in a way, sells hope for next season, right? But why now? I mean, the general manager doesn't do anything the rest of the way outside of maybe some decisions as far as who's on the playoff roster, right? But why now? It really feels like Jim Crane was pissed. And perhaps, in the words of Ken Rosenthal, Athletic baseball reporter who is infamous on this show for this line.
The Astros are the cockroaches of baseball.
Cockroach. Cockroach. I buried those cockroaches.
Which has led us to lean into the cockroach nickname.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
But earlier today, Rosenthal was on, I think this is on Fair Territory, and he had this to say about Jim Crane and today's decision.
Not exactly a surprise that they're moving on from Dana Brown, and enough of the mutual partings already, please. It's a firing. And Dana Brown, we all know, Chandler Rome has been writing about this for The Athletic all season. Last year of his contract, in trouble. What is surprising about this is the timing. Now, obviously, the Houston Astros have had somewhat a disappointing season. But at the same time, they are currently in first place in the American League West, albeit under 500, and albeit coming off an incredibly disappointing homestand. This is largely, in terms of the timing, symbolic. The general manager doesn't have all that much to do from here to the end of the season. And I guess Jim Crane just figured we're going to do this anyway. I'm ticked off about this homestand, and let's do it now. In case you missed it, the Astros blew a 6-0 lead to the A's yesterday, one of the worst teams in baseball. They had a 3-6 homestand against Seattle, Los Angeles Angels, and the A's. Three teams that have struggled in their division. Every team in that division is under 500. So from that perspective, okay, yeah, Jim Crane's upset. Jim Crane once fired a general manager after winning the World Series, and he's perfectly entitled to do whatever he wants to do. But this, in some ways, seems to be a hissy fit coming to light.
A hissy fit. What a way to land the plane by Ken Rosenthal. And I don't think it's that far off. I know people don't like Ken Rosenthal. I don't mind him. I think he does a good job for The Athletic. What happened in 2019 when the scandal with the trash can banging came to light was going to be approached that way by anyone who covers the sport. It was. Have you moved on? Considering I believe Jim Crane to be reactionary, after that embarrassing weekend to do this on Monday, it does feel like I'm going to put a symbolic head on a spike. Some comments here. We got two from TikTok. First off, JB leads off. Jeff Bagwell might be the new GM. Yikes. Let that soak in. Also, Fantasy Life comments asking the question. Check that. No question asked. People who get fired always wonder why now. It never matters at the end of the day. To be honest, the firing should continue. Clean house. Okay, but what does it do? What if you fire Joe Espada now? What does that do the rest of the way? Maybe it lights a fire under their ass. It worked for the Red Sox firing Alex Cora. They've been great ever since that happened, weirdly. Because a lot of people respect Alex Cora. They think Alex Cora is one of the better managers in baseball, and obviously he's pretty adept when it comes to picking up other teams' signals. People are very paranoid when they were going up against the Red Sox over the last couple of years. But what does moving on from anyone right now do? It's just like a symbolic shooting. But you were going to do this already. Why on a Monday where there's no baseball game? I suppose we will hear from Jim Crane in Tuesday. He's going to have a press conference on Tuesday. More comments from Riku 7899 with a series of comments here. We'll get to them in just a second. I have to load these in the old-fashioned way because there's no multi-chat platform that I can use with Restream. Jim Crane is reactionary. Just look at James Click. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Jim Crane. Another comment. Brandon Hallam says on YouTube as well, never woken up on a Monday and thought, fuck everybody. I wish I could fire them all. It must be nice to have hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. You can do that. R.A. Tacky 3230 comments, I wonder if Brown's departure has anything to do with Espada's Saturday night. Said it was the worst night of his life. Maybe Brown was insensitive. I don't think it was Espada. Excuse me. I don't think it was Dana Brown who said it was the worst night of Espada's life. I think it was Omar Lopez. From what I understand, whatever Joe's dealing with, he is okay now. I honestly don't know what he's dealing with. I think we're going to find out about that from him in New York. Another comment. This is from the TikTok. MDV comments the following. God, I hope Bagwell doesn't end up being GM or even interim. Well, to go back to that statement, he's going to be part of the power structure. I have a very vivid imagination, and when talking about baseball, I'm always trying to find ways to make it fun, because I think most of you guys know that as far as like explaining the X's and O's of baseball, I'm not the best. I'm a vibes guy, a baseball casual. Football's my bread and butter. But over the last couple of years, ever since I knew that Jeff Bagwell was a key part of Astros decisions, and knowing that Jim Crane used to be a very good pitcher in college, a Division III college, I've always looked at the Astros decision makers as a bit of a jockey club, if you will. You got Jim Crane, who, is an owner, but he's got a lot of money, and he can employ a lot of people, like a Reggie Jackson, like a Jeff Bagwell. And when you pay people, generally, they become, to some degree, a yes man. So you got Jim Crane, who pitched very well at the D3 level. He's one of the best people to ever pitch in the United States of America. Like, he is in the top, 10%, right? Probably even higher. You are a great college pitcher. Doesn't matter the level. You're one of the best on that front. And he probably thinks he knows ball as a result, in the same way that Jerry Jones probably thinks he knows football, given he played at Arkansas. So I've always imagined that Jim Crane's got this varsity letter jacket from his time in college, where he was a World Series of that level's hero. And he comes in to the office, and he's got Jeff Bagwell there. No Reggie Jackson anymore. And they look at all the dweebs, all the nerds, the pencil pushers, the people who are like Jonah Hill in Moneyball. By the way, I haven't seen that movie. I refuse to watch it. That's neither here nor there. And he's like a jock. He's being extra handsy with some of these numbers guys. He's putting his hand on their shoulders in a kind of menacing way. Not quite Bane. Do you feel in charge? Not quite that. But he's walking around in a circle with some of these guys. What are their names again? Gavin Dickey, Connor Huff, Charles Cook. He goes up behind them. Dickey! What are those numbers telling you today? Hey, Huff. You gonna bring the beer in? You gonna tap this keg? Come on, Huff. What are you doing? Hey, Cook. Four Eyes. You taking a look at the OPS numbers for the next great Houston Astro? Where's Furcus? Where's Bill Furcus? Jim Crane asks Jeff Bagwell, who's also in the room. Oh, you fired him 3 years ago. And you hazed him a little bit too there, Jim. Oh, well, that's what happens if you don't do the job that I'm looking for. Then he picks up a bat. Maybe it's Reggie Jackson's bat, one of his bats. It's autographed by him. He's menacingly walking around the room with his Letterman jacket on, like he's Al Capone in The Untouchables, played by Robert De Niro. This is what goes through my mind. I'd make the movie. I think we should make the movie. Greg Todd says of Moneyball on Twitch at Gallant Says, Paul, it's a fucking great movie. I'm sorry. I'm not watching a movie about a 20-game winning streak by the homeless A's that enables owners to be cheapskates. Sorry, not doing it. They won 20 games in a row, and everyone acts like, oh, it's Scott Hatteberg. Oh, it's, Jeremy Giambi or something like that. When, in reality, it's about them having all these great pitchers. And by the way, they didn't do shit that year. The Red Sox beat them. I think they had a 2-0 lead in that best of 5 series. And they blew it. Right? Anyway. Greg Todd asks, Paul, did you lead with Kayshon Boutte? No, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. MDV comments on the TikTok side of things. Who do you think will be the front runner for GM and for manager next year? That is a great question. I think you got to ask this instead. Who would want to be the general manager right now? They fired a general manager after winning the World Series. And while I don't think Dana Brown did a very good job, you can definitely second guess some of his draft picks, his inability to get starting pitchers. But I mean, the Cam Smith for Kyle Tucker trade looks great right now. It's not like it was all bad. He's a very convenient fall guy for this moment in time. Do you want to be the next fall guy? Crane is going to be chasing the ghost of Jeff Luhnow probably for the remainder of his time as owner of the Astros. By the way, who wouldn't? I would too. If you have a GM that was that awesome, who you respected the opinion of, who disagreed with you from time to time, you're always going to want that guy again. But I feel like that's a burnt bridge. It's always fun to imagine the possibility of Jeff Luhnow. We did it after they moved on from James Click. But that doesn't seem to be remotely possible. Doesn't seem like Luhnow's interested. Do you want to step in and try to be the third attempt at recreating Jeff Luhnow when the last two guys have failed? One after winning a World Series. No. So that means there's a chance it's going to be a lot more Jeff Bagwell. Maybe he's even the GM. Or maybe it's some other old Astros player. Is Brad Ausmus the next GM? Is Brad Ausmus the next manager? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what they do this offseason, but I hate that this happens right now, specifically because of this. You've just gone through a wretched stretch of play. And this makes, I think, the entirety of the team nervous as opposed to more locked in. You fired a symbolic figure who was going to be out at the end of the year, and now there's this weirdness in the air about Joe Espada's status as well. Could it light a fire under these players? Sure. But is lighting a fire under these players going to make this outfield hit, this lineup consistently hit after Jeremy Pena and Yordan Alvarez? Is it going to make the starting pitchers actually good? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Some more comments. Jason Wagner says, if Bret Hart can go back to the WWE, Jeff Luhnow can come back to the Astros. I'm unfamiliar with that wrestling reference. Tony Yayod says on Facebook, what's with the Pats gear in the background? This is Texas. I have standards. That's where it comes from. I'm a 6-time Super Bowl champion. I know ball on a level that you can't possibly understand. That football, hang on, wrong corner. That football is what you are chasing. That's your ghost. That's why you have Nick Caserio here, by the way. That's why you have some ex-Patriots coaches. A lot of people get mad about the Patriot way. Oh, what are the Texans? Copying the Patriots a bit? And I hope they succeed, don't get me wrong. But this idea, this is Texas, what? Does that impress me? Is that supposed to impress me? Don't make me get back on cocky Patriots fan Paul, okay? This is Texas. Yeah, this is my home. I live in Houston. But I grew up rooting for that team. And that team taught me many valuable lessons that you guys still need to learn. So there you go. Texas Hag says Deflategate. Deflate these nuts. How about that? By the way, that's the dumb scandal. At least come with Spygate. And if you come with Spygate, I'm going to correct you because Spygate, not even close to the big deal that banging the can was. The trash cans, you know? Shout out to Ross Bolin, who was on the show on Thursday of last week. Banging the can. Great podcast. Sports. Texas. Crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does. Maryland. That's wrong. It's a different one. Paul Tover says, easy, Paul. Relax. Listen, if you're riling me up, I'm sometimes predictable. But that's why it's there. That's my Lord and Savior. I have 2 Tom Brady candles back there, too. Our buddy Chewy is here with a couple of big comments. Let's go through both of them. And we're eventually going to bring on Dez from Apollo, who joined me earlier today. Very appreciative of his time. Talk for about 30 minutes. And we will get back to talking about the Houston Texans a little bit later in the show, plus a couple of other funny things in Houston. Chewy says Dana Brown had to go, but there's an underlying issue beyond a GM problem. Crane has glimpses of a Jerry Jones to an extent, and I don't know why. With this baseball legends, I don't think they strike as guys who want to make baseball types of decisions as a long-term kind of thing. I think you're saying they look for the short term more than the long term. For sure, the window's always open. You've heard them say that a couple of times. You know? What else do we got? It's Chewy also says Crane needs to do some soul searching because since the scandal and having to fire Luno, one GM gets the boot after winning a World Series. I don't think it was Crane who would have brought him back. Brown has his faults. The real culprit's Crane. He needs to stop being too hands-on. I don't think he can help himself. I think that in one way, being a successful businessman and having been a past successful athlete helps him, and it ensures that he's always going to be competitive. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because I also think by that same logic, you can get in trouble. You think you know a little bit more than you actually know. When you are constantly winning as a businessman, before that as a pitcher, you're going to have a lot of confidence in your intellect. And you will not have perhaps the realistic self-awareness to look at yourself and be like, oh, well, I'm not that good at this. I'm not that good at that. That's how it goes. Fantasy Life says the window may still be open on TikTok. It was time to throw the trash out of it. Throwing trash out the window is a crime. You can't do that. All right, everybody. It is time to bring on from Apollo Media. We've been trying to make this happen for a while. And we're going to do guests a little bit more on the show. I will be keeping an eye on the chat. You can say whatever you want, but this is pre-recorded. We do these a little bit earlier in the day. It's this platform I'm streaming from makes it difficult to do things live. But Des from Apollo, welcome to the Gallant Says podcast. Apollo Dez is a co-founder of Apollo Media. He is the co-host of Apollo Media's Astros Beyond the Diamond live stream. You should be subscribing to them on YouTube, all the platforms. They've got a Patreon as well. What an eventful last 72 hours, Dez. Good God, man.
That's great for us in this conversation because we were talking off air and we're like, how do you put sugar on a homestand with the Angels and the A's and the way those games shook out? But Monday morning changed everything.
So, yeah, the last 72 hours, the Astros blew a 3-1 lead against the homeless A's. They blew a 6-0 lead against the homeless A's. They have moved on from Dana Brown. They gave him the choice to be general manager the rest of the year, but what would he be doing? And then there's been some conflicting reporting about Joe Espada. Bob Nightingale said, a high-ranking official said he's out at the end of the year, but he can stay if he wants. And Joe Espada, I guess, decided to stay. Chandler Rome saying otherwise, that conversation, at least per Espada, has never happened. I mean, where do we begin? I was looking forward, Des, to this series against the Yankees because while this last couple of weeks has been a bit of a letdown post-trade deadline, I'm thinking, okay, we finally got a measuring stick series. Is some of what we've seen over the past couple of months legit? And now here we are, and this team's in first place while below 500 and making the kind of moves that a team makes when the season's over.
No, 100%. And I think everyone watching and everyone tuning in, like, it's not crazy to say the Astros are going to beat the Yankees in a series because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't the 26 Astros who can't beat the Angels at home, can't beat the formerly known as Prince, formerly known as Oakland Athletics, now the A's, they can't beat them at home, especially when you're up 3-1 in the eighth and up 6-0 cruising. Why not? Why? Of course they're going to beat the Yankees and they're going to beat the Mets. Like, it makes no sense, but it makes all the sense. Just the way this team is, and it kind of has been the last 4 or 5 years, that they do play up to talent. And it's at this point we're dumb if we don't think about that way because they're gonna play up to the New York Yankees, and it should be a fun series. And we could be sitting here next week excited about the season because someone has to win the AL West. Someone does. Like, no one does, apparently, but someone has to.
Yeah, no one wants to win it. It's so strange, and it's felt like that for a couple of years too. Remember a couple of years ago, all these teams are jockeying for position, all losing at the same time. So here we are once again in this very familiar spot for the Astros. And you're right. And I mean, I'm such a bandwagon spoiled Astros fan. I'm the epitome of the worst Astros fan minus I'm not calling for everyone's head all the time. Right before the trade deadline, I was all aboard. I was trying to make cockroaches a thing for the Astros after Rosenthal called them that. And a couple of weeks later, it feels like the season's done, but they're still in first place despite being below 500. Why do you think they did this now? My gut feeling was when I first saw it, Jim Crane's mad. He's just mad about what happened this weekend, and he's doing something to give Astros fans a little bit of juice, a little blood to satisfy them. Why do you think they did it?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, the first thing that kind of comes to my mind, this homestand didn't seem like there was a lot of people there. Like, legitimate. And they went up against, the Texans preseason games, whatever. But the energy and everything that you had about 3 weeks ago when the Astros went on that run is completely gone, completely vanished. And that's the ebbs and flows of a Houston sports fan and a Houston sports team. I think that's one. Two, you can't. It was one of the worst homestands I've seen in the last 3 years. And
opportunity
to expect this team to just, hey, we're going to roll the ball out there, we're going to show up, and we're going to beat you. This is not that team anymore. They haven't been that team in a while. So to keep having those expectations is just crazy to me. But you have to play the game. And I think I said it on the show today, the 48-win, now 50-win Angels and the 50-win, now 52-win Athletics, they look like the better team and look like the teams that were in first place than the Houston Astros were. And they were just playing with a little bit of edge, a little bit of just that want to, especially in the dog days. And it kind of just goes back onto where we were this time kind of last year, where they were losing series after the trade deadline. Obviously, they lost 5 of 6 this deadline. And it just starts at the top. And granted, I think I titled the episode today on our Beyond the Dime was the good, the bad, the ugly of the Dana Brown era, because there was some good, right? The trades, there were some bad, the non-signings, the hang in there, Astro fans, or we're not done yet, like the self-inflicted stuff, and the stuff we don't see. And we're in the space, and everyone now hears the stories. Like, I don't understand how owner before trade deadline tells everyone publicly, "Hey, don't trade from the major league roster." That is tying both hands behind your general manager's back. Now, that probably is happening behind the scenes. Don't let that get out. Every team now knows that. And so you have things like that and all these little, headwinds, but it just seemed like it was eventually going to happen. I know Chandler said he had the story, geared up for months. And so, I mean, I've heard things behind the scenes, and so it was always going to happen. But I think Dana Brown, one of the things that I'll remember him from is that candid interview he had with Chandler. And he was like, "Hey, I may not be here. I may not be here and see this, the fruits of my labor, but I'm also not going to sell all that to try to save my job." And I thought that was very admirable on him, and spoke highly of him, especially a guy that's been in the game forever. So I think it was a long time coming, but again, just a random Monday morning right before you play the Yankees in the middle of a pennant chase and on a first place team. It's wild, but it's the Astro way.
Going back to what you said about not being able to trade from the major league roster, and we see that report about Brian Abreu getting traded, and then all of a sudden someone pumps the brakes.
Yeah.
Is that Jim Crane? Is it Jeff Bagwell? And it does make you wonder about these last couple of years, because clearly Dana Brown has made some moves, no doubt about it. But how many has had Jim Crane with like the hand on his shoulder, like he's Bane and Dark Knight Rises? Do you feel in charge? I mean, it really does make you wonder. And now, going back and thinking about the way it felt like Jim Crane was trying to demonstrate the way things were being run, where he specifically stepped away from the microphone and was allowing Dana to speak and was making sure, I'm not going to put things out there that make it seem like I'm Jerry Jones, like I'm a meddlesome owner. But we are right back to feeling that way about him. Des, I've created this very stupid character. Jim Crane was a great pitcher in college. I feel like when he hangs out with these great baseball players that used to be in his inner circle, I call it the Letterman Jacket Skull and Bone Society, where you had Reggie Jackson and you had Jeff Bagwell and there was Craig Biggio as well. I feel like he puts on his Southwest Missouri State Letterman jacket, and I think he feels like he knows ball so much. And because he's competitive and saying the window's always open, it ultimately gets him to just do things that don't make a whole lot of sense. And he's confidently doing them because the people that he's brought into the circle with him have never really stood up to him. And I mean, it just makes me miss Jeff Luhnow, the more that I think about it.
No, 100%. I think it's twofold. One, where I think at times where Crane gave everything, right? And Jeff, and when the fallout of everything that happened, you wrecked the Ferrari. So I'm not going to give the next kid the Ferrari where I'm going to have to put some guardrails up. And so we see the meddling, and then also I see the other side of where, like, being the former player, he wants to win. He's not a billionaire by birth. Like, he earned, he grinded and got to this point to where he is worth zillions of dollars. So he's kind of won in life already. And then has in the sports organization, what you do, you win the titles. But I think everything changed in October of 2017, where as an organization, as a fan base, when you prestige up and you win a championship, your first time, multiple times, whatever it is, you're now in this new space. And love it, hate it, that's what makes the best thing of sports. That kind of doesn't happen with Dana Brown. You're now remembered for championships. You won the Kyle Tucker trade. People will talk about that, but they're going to be like, but he didn't win. They'll talk about James Click. He won. Did he do enough? Blah, blah, blah. But so you're going to be remembered once you prestige up as a organization. And I think that's what happened with Crane himself. Like, he prestiged up as a sports billionaire to, I'm now a champion 2 times over. And a lot of yes man, a lot of people, the Reggie Jacksons and Jeff Bagwells. And I've also never seen someone that has been a franchise player, Hall of Famer, one of the best hitters I've ever seen in my entire life. It's now like kind of universally despised. And it's almost like self-inflicting stuff, because as a player, after a Hall of Fame career, whatever it is, a team Hall of Fame or a real Hall of Fame, the next job you want is a special advisor to the owner. Like, you want that job. Those paychecks come in every 2 weeks. Everyone loves you. Craig Biggio's done it the right way. No one bad about it. He has the same, name and title. But when you see a press release today where Jeff Bagwell's mentioned in this press release, like, why even add to that? Like, the fan base is already going to talk about it. Don't add more, kerosene to the fire. And you just did that, and you just walked away. And so I don't understand. I'm also not a billionaire. I also don't have 2 championships. So he's doing something right. It just seems at times it's self-inflicted, and it's great for content. Like, don't get me wrong. I love this. Like, we're not talking about it if it's not happening, but I don't know. I see other teams and teams trying to not spend money and not win. Now, the Astros' problem is not spending money. It's just they haven't spent money the right way. And so that's why you get the Montero contracts, the Abreu contracts, when, Bagwell, Reggie Jackson, and replying to AI people, and, Crane are doing all these things. And then you're sitting there, hey, Hader's great. I love Josh Hader. I will cheer for him all the time. I think he's the best closer in baseball. $19 million to a closer in a vacuum is crazy.
Especially for 5 years.
It's crazy. And so, like, it's just like, okay, you're all right. Like, yeah, I got the brand new Ferrari. We got Josh Hader. You got to hit everything else right, and you did it. So it's like this loose house of cards you get going, but I don't know. It's interesting. It really, really is interesting.
There's a lot of different perspectives on Crane in the fan base. And, I try to follow the team every single day. You follow the team every single day. We have the better ability to do that than the average person. And I know something that gets thrown around a lot is like, Jim Crane doesn't spend. And that's just wrong.
Right.
I mean, to what you were saying a little bit before, maybe he's got Nick Cage-esque spending tendencies, buying a dinosaur, a mausoleum in New Orleans. Cause like Rafael Montero, a 3-year deal for a reliever. That's crazy. Michael Brantley's shoulder was gone. Jose Abreu is a little more excusable to me, but you could make an argument. Hey, some of those numbers were trending down, and trading for Justin Verlander again, or bringing back Carlos Correa. Those moves feel a little pandery. We're going to keep the good times rolling. We're going to play the hits again. And there's no doubt that he has done his best, I think, to just continue to cater to this fan base. And you want that out of an owner. But to what you were saying a moment ago in this PR statement that came out, there's a self-awareness that I'm wondering about. Like, how self-aware are they of the perception from a lot of the fan base, specifically about any Bagwell involvement? There's no reason to put that specifically out. There really isn't. And I'm wondering where that came from and why they decided, yeah, let's put this in the statement. This will make people feel better on a day where, again, you lose 2 horrible games to the A's, and on top of that, you're moving on from the GM.
Oh, yeah. And I think that, like, even Dana and his 790 hits right before the trade deadline, I think the day before, I think it was the game, and he was talking with Robert Ford, and he was like, they're like, oh, who's in the room? Like, we've been here for all this long. He names his assistant GMs, and he's like, oh yeah, Bagwell's in here too. Like, I think he was starting to hedge a bit, like, and I think he was starting to play that because a lot of this game's politics, right? It's positioning yourself. You're obviously a yes man because that's the guy who signed your checks, but there's a lot of positions of power happening, and especially when you have Jeff Bagwell, who apparently has a lot of say in this organization. It's like Littlefinger just won Game of Thrones. Like, not a spoiler alert, but it's just like that guy. This is who ascended to the Iron Throne. This is what we're doing right now. It just makes no sense, but it makes all the sense when you keep going back and looking at it. And it's just, I don't know. It's weird because, again, growing up, I think everyone in the greater Houston area and all of Texas got down in a squat like Jeff Bagwell one time in the backyard. It was sweet. Like, he was huge. Like, he was amazing. And now it's just kind of like, I feel bad just because I'm a baseball freak. I'm like, damn, he's losing like his resume and all these highlights of Jeff Bagwell. People are going to remember for all of this now. And maybe this is kind of not even that. I think, I don't know. But putting that line in there just really just started the fire all over again. And to be really interesting 6 weeks.
It sure will. And all you can do is just look back now at these past couple of series and say, man, they've just really blew this opportunity. For whatever reason, they play down to bad teams. And as always, they've played well against the best, but we'll see what happens in the Bronx. The Yankees are banged up.
You were at a few games. I saw you were doing the prize pick stuff, and like, you're a baseball fan, I'm a baseball fan. It's clear to see like the Dana Brown conversation. He constructed a bad lineup because there's so many holes. There's so many question marks in the rotation. Your bullpen is spent. You're seeing that. Just you have a bunch of warts on it right now, losing these games that we've seen. Over the history of like the Astros in this golden age, they could withstand it because most of their roster wasn't replacement players or guys that are moves that are made in the margins, right? Like the Taylor Trammell's shouldn't be getting 250, 300 at-bats. They should be getting 110 and being really good in those 110. Like, that's when the Astros were really good. And then you're trying to win so much in the margins that you have 6 replacement players in the aggregate trying to recreate one player. Like, what's the point of doing that when you're taking so many players to try to recreate it? And so that's a lot of the conversation, too, that I saw today that really wasn't being spoken of about more. Just like, this roster's bad. And sometimes in a month, the roster's good. We've seen them be good. It's just you can't sustain that in a time where the Dodgers are using insurance money. The Yankees are gearing up. The Yankees are using – I think the Yankees are – if they get Judge back, which I don't know, but they're building their arms. We've seen the Rays are good, obviously Brewers, Cubs, but you're seeing these teams kind of spin in their war chest for October. And I think this Astros team can do something in October. They can't go toe-to-toe against these teams, but when the war chest is empty in August, I have no warm and fuzzies over the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that was at the trade deadline where you're looking at, wait, what do we have? We got like lint in our pocket. There's not even coins. What are you going to move one guy for to bring somebody back in? And whether it's the lineup, which you mentioned, going into the year, we were told, hey, they were going to get a bat. And I know people are going to get mad at Dana Brown for not getting a bat, but from Brown's perspective, what the hell was he supposed to give up to get that bat? And then from a pitching perspective, Des, they've had always an insane amount of pitching depth, and all these guys seemingly end up getting Tommy John surgery. But now we're at a point where, damn, Hayden Wesneski better work out. Damn, Ronel Blanco, both these guys coming off of Tommy John surgery, better work out. And then on top of that, like Hunter Brown's not having a very good season by his standards, coming back from the shoulder injury. So those have added up as well. And like, that's probably always been the key to where the Astros have been. It's just an unfair amount of starting pitching. And whether that's all Jeff Luhnow and raiding the Caribbean and finding all of these guys that they could bring in that they didn't have to spend that much money on to do so, and coaching them up and getting to the point where they all were so damn consistent, whether it's Framber Valdez or many other pitchers that were out there, that's been missing for a while. And I think it's very easy to lay all of that at Dana Brown's feet, but I'm just trying to have a different perspective on it. I don't really know what he could have done differently these last couple of years because of the lack of assets that they had for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah, and I think like last year, and there was probably going to be some hard conversations with the Astros when they kind of leaked oil down the stretch and they made the playoffs for the first time and seems like a decade. And but the injury bug, right? You could chalk up last year was just there were so many injuries. Everyone was injured. It was just it couldn't happen again. It was like they planned as a general manager. Hey, we built this house for a Category 3 hurricane, and Category 6 came in and wiped it out. Like you're not expecting that. But going into this year, we sat at the trade deadline and we heard after a failure of a deadline, that's just what it is. You got a rental for a controllable arm, and you sat up there and said, hey, these guys are going to be acquisitions in itself. And you said that the year before with Christian Javier and Lance McCullers, and you said it the year before with other injuries. And this is your third time kind of saying that. And granted, it's a lot of GM speak, and a lot of other GMs do it. It's just not a Houston Astros thing. A lot of GMs say that. it's just, you can't fool me. You just can't. And where would you be without Peter Lambert? A great Dana Brown, fine, right? But he's gassed right now. You could tell he needs a skip in the rotation. He's just grinding through his last 3 starts. Like you said, Hunter Brown's still trying to fix his mechanics. For the longest time, you only had 2 guys you could trust to go 5+ innings. So you still had 60% of your rotation as question marks. Hey, it's a coin flip if they're going to make it. Is Hayden Wesneski, are you going to get through 5? Now with everything else, you're damn near 100% on your rotation every time through of flipping a coin and holding your breath and seeing like, hey, are they going to get 5? You thought yesterday Javier was cruising. He's finally going to get 5. He's finally going to go 3 times through the lineup. He's going to get 5. You blinked and it was 6-6.
Oh.
And so but it wasn't a surprise. Framber Valdez was never coming back. The Astros didn't want Framber Valdez.
I think fans didn't want him either.
But there was 200 innings you had to replace.
Exactly, yeah.
So if Peter Lambert doesn't have the Peter Lambert year, you're looking at, and Hunter Brown was injured, where would this Astro be? Maybe 35 wins, 40 wins? Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know.
On top of that, too, I mean, the bullpen, take a look at their numbers since May and all of the weight that they have been carrying, and they have to carry this weight seemingly like 3 times a week, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and that's the same bullpen that was brutal for the first 4 weeks.
Right, exactly.
They couldn't throw strikes. It was the other way, and baseball finds its way. I don't think this team is going to leak oil down the stretch. I think the offense will figure it out. I think they're going to play up. They're going to surprise us. We'll be sitting here with 10 games left. We're like, shit, the Astros only need 2 wins. We need 2 wins. It's going to come down to the last 2 games, but they're somehow going to be in it. So I just keep going. I'm a baseball freak. Baseball's about to be a lockout. I'm going to enjoy these next 31 games. There's a ton of fans that are just angry on the internet at all times, and they're like, I don't want this team to make the playoffs.
No, that's
October 1st is going to roll around, and the Astros aren't in the playoffs. You'll be like, I wish they were in the playoffs. And by the time the lockout's happening and baseball's not happening, you're going to be like, I really wish that 78-win Astros team was in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, shit, are we going to be watching – I mean, sadly, the WNBA has been hijacked by the culture war. So when the Houston Comets are in town, like that's what we're going to have is like every single game is some sort of indictment on
that. And Banana Balls will be playing all over ESPN. I'm going to walk into the Buffalo Bayou, Paul. I'm going to walk right into the Buffalo. I'm not watching Banana Ball.
I'm glid you said it too. I hate Banana Balls so much. Listen, it's not for me. I'm not judging.
I get it. It's not. I get it. You guys are. If you're selling out football stadiums for this, you've done something right.
Yeah,
it's not for me.
But it feels like a way for a husband to bring a family to the game because first off, the kids like all of the sideshows, and then the wives they're there for the strippers because the players are basically strippers out there, like
TikTok dancers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, everyone's getting a little something out of that. Yeah, God, it's a great point, and I'm also getting tired of that. I mean, anyone rooting for this team to not make the playoffs, playoff baseball is the best. I have a tough time this time of year. This is when I'm always like, it's the end of the marathon. Can we get to the end of this? Because playoff baseball is fantastic. I wish they'd even get rid of the pitch clock for it. And this next month, I mean, after they wrap up against the Yankees and they play the Mets, I mean, September? The White Sox are somehow good. Didn't see that coming.
Oh, that's the power of the Pope. I gotta recalibrate a lot of things if they make the playoffs.
Right.
My grandmother would be really happy when she sees me in church again because that's like the White Sox are in the playoffs.
That's crazy. Diamondbacks are doing well.
Yeah.
Phillies, Rays. They got a Royals series, which would probably be the one that they mess up compared to all the other teams. And the Braves before they wrap up the year with the Mariners and the Athletics. Like, I'm having a tough time getting past just the blown opportunity that took place over the last couple of weeks. Because I was looking at the schedule and thinking, okay, I feel like they're going to build a lead and then they're going to be hanging on for dear life to it. But you will have playoff feeling games the rest of the way. It just makes me wonder. I don't know the specifics with this Joe Espada stuff. Was Nightingale just wrong or did this actually happen? Because if I'm in this clubhouse and I don't know what Espada was dealing with that caused him to miss Sunday's game, and obviously he had that unfortunate pointing incident on Saturday. I don't know what caused him to miss it, but God, it's got to suck to be in this clubhouse. And even if you're maybe not the biggest fan of him as a manager, that clubhouse likes him. And to have this hovering over them, this has always been such a resilient team. It's got some really resilient voices in it. Maybe get a shot in the arm when Carlos Correa, if Carlos Correa comes back. But this is just a very weird place to be. And I don't think these moves or these rumors of moves help out in any way, shape, or form. I feel like we all know Espada is probably gone at the end of the year, and we all knew Brown was going to be gone at the end of the year. They were lame duck going into the season, and the season has been what it's been. I wish this didn't happen because I think it's taken a lot of wind out of the sails. And to what you were saying a moment ago, Des, the most negative people online are all of a sudden, beating the drums, and it's like they're not even happy with the blood that they've just been given.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then like if you're like that negative, like I think you could zoom out and be like, hey, this ownership group said this is not the standard. We're getting rid of the GM, right? And if you want to look in that vacuum in that scope, but then again, these guys are human beings. They see the tweets, they see all the Instagram posts, they see all this stuff. I don't know how Joe Espada does it every day. I really don't. And I've been tough on him I over the last 2 years, and there's things I don't agree with as a manager that he's done. But to roll out and have that lineup day in and day out, and just to be at 500, it almost seems like a miracle in itself. But I'm not worried about this team kind of going Cancun on 3 on the organization and the fan base, because you said it. These guys have so many prominent voices, and there's so many. There's like an Astro way within that clubhouse that is still very prominent with Altuve and Jordan. You've seen Walker kind of pick up this leadership role. Josh Hader pick up this leadership role. You have Jeremy who's being more vocal. Obviously, Carlos is there. I don't see them essentially doing the whole Cancun thing, but it's not another question they want to answer. Tomorrow, when the doors open for the media, that's going to be the first. No, we're in first place. We're playing the New York Yankees in this cathedral of baseball. Let's go play. I should not be answering questions about the GM or the manager. I should be focused on, hey, Will Warren's pitching. We're going to go after these guys because they hate us. They're about to walk into a hornet's nest, and there's a lot of blood in the water, and there's a lot of things that New York fans still, a whole decade worth of hate. So they shouldn't be answering those questions, and they're going to, and that's part of the job. But man, the wherewithal just feels low.
It does. I want to bring the vibes up. You guys make some great merch. Is there a shirt you guys could roll out 5 years ago that you think would rally the troops?
Oh man. I think the H-Town versus everyone was always just try and shoot staple, and that was a fun one. But honestly, back with the 22 run, the guys were just sending ideas. They're like, hey, can you put this on a shirt? And we just yeah, you sign off on it, we'll do it. I don't want to get sued. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And that was the best. A lot of those faces are no longer with us, but to do something like this, I mean, I feel like the cockroach thing was right there. That was that was great. Especially Rosenthal saying it, that's perfect. It's always cool to see kind of the growth of it all, but to see the players kind of be a part of it and wear it and see it on, socials, whatever it be. But man, it's just, I don't know. It's cool to still walk around the stadium and see some of the shirts that we made. And the H-Town versus everyone's my baby. So that's always gonna be my favorite. I'd just be let's make 20 variants of that one.
I wish that you guys had the licensing ability, because I want you guys to make this one, but whatever. It's fine. But I was thinking because of Tony Montana and Scarface and the way he says,
the Astros are
wait, that's the wrong one. Where is it? Here we go.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
And he says cockroaches so much in that movie. Is it possible to get, because ChatGPT is really amazing these days. You get Al Pacino in an Astros jersey. You're not the bad guy. I'm a cockroach. You're the bad guy. I don't know.
I've seen. I don't even know if someone made it probably. It's been on the internet for a while, but there's a Pacino smoking a cigar in the Astros.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, it's
fine. Okay.
Yeah, that one is all. That one's sick.
All right, we'll post a link to that on
I don't know. I always see the meme on it. And I'm like, damn, that's so good.
Okay.
I don't know the credit. Someone has it out there.
Well, Des, I appreciate you joining me. Hopefully the vibes will pick up for this team. Hopefully they'll be able to get it together down the stretch because there's still a lot of season to go. And I mean, everyone's who wants the season to be over. You're full of shit.
We have 31 games. That's all we're promised. Legitimately, we're about to go in a lockout. I'm gonna sit there mad and upset at 6:10 p.m. tomorrow, but I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna do it.
And Jim Crane can make up for all of this if he somehow finds a way to do what the Dodgers owner is doing. I don't care. Let's cheat. Fuck it. Let's cheat.
Why not buy an insurance company? Why not spend that money within the funnel? What are we doing?
He is Apollo Des, Apollo Media. Make sure you're subscribed to all of their pages, channels, etc., etc. They've got a Patreon. They've got a YouTube, Astros Beyond the Diamond. Des, appreciate you stopping by. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, brother.
Great to have Des on. Been trying to make that happen for a bit. Hopefully we get to do it again. The Apollo people are great. Buy their merch. I got to see if I can find a shirt like the one he described at the very end. Now I don't have to actually make it. But I also need the Astros to get it together. So before we move on to talking about the Houston Texans, it's time for the Astros cocaine song to give us some vibes.
Why did they argue the umpire's call? Why did the fielders crash into walls? Why do you think the pitchers throw smoke? Why do you think they go for broke? Who says it's only a game? Why do the catchers wear iron masks? Why do they dive for the dive on the grass? Why do they go head first into home? Why do the losers feel all alone? Who says it's only a game?
When you want it, you give it all you've got. The war's not over till the final shot.
It's pride and glory and fame.
Yeah.
Who says it's only a game?
Who says it?
Why do you think they call them spikes?
I don't know.
Why do you think they call them strikes?
I don't know.
Why do they give it more than they've got? Why do they always reach for the top? Who says it's only a game?
Astros baseball. Who says it's only a game? What a great song. Thank you, random dude from the 1980s. We hope you haven't died from excess cocaine consumption. Paul Che, I don't like this kind of thinking, brother. I don't like this. On the YouTube side of things, Paul Che says, honestly, I kind of hope they collapse. It'll send a clear message to Jim Crane that things need to change. Lots of changes. Bro, come on. Come on. This is the line of thinking. Alan P. 9561. Rally around Joe. Do it for Joe. Come on. I sound like Joe Biden for a little bit. Come on. Let me hear it. Although I think that's actually more Roger Goodell at the NFL draft. Whenever anyone boos him. Come on. Bring it. Robot man. Ross Poland says the wherewithal feels low. Yeah. Not an optimal front office to have, that's for sure. Greg Todd says bring back the trombone. I'll do that. I'll bring it back in the next show. This is the Astros sound bank that I have. You heard the cocaine song. You've got Ken Rosenthal.
The Astros are the cockroaches of baseball.
Cockroach. I buried those cockroaches.
You got more Tony Montana.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
We've also got the Bug from Men in Black, played by Vince D'Onofrio, to describe non-Astros cockroach haters.
Everywhere I look in fact, nothing but undeveloped, unevolved, barely conscious pond scum. Totally convinced of their own superiority as they scurry about their short, pointless lives.
We have this.
God wills it. God wills it. God wills it.
God wills it. The motto of the 2025 Astros. We've got this as well.
Blasphemy!
If you ever question this Astros team, you question Jim Crane. We've got this.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
I'm trying to do my part. To stay positive. For the last time, with Dana Brown now gone, we will play a segment that was very fun for us because Dana Brown had a way with words and put himself in impossible positions. You down with Dana B?
This ball club's too good.
You down with Dana B?
He's pretty much given me the steering wheel and said, hey, this is your gig.
You down with Dana B?
These guys have been out for so much of the season that it feels like we're acquiring 2 new players.
I guess we'll see. R.I.P. Dana. Cockroach fever carries on without you. All right. Big move by the Texans today. I thought the Texans were going to bet on themselves, but clearly they think they needed to upgrade their wide receiver room. They traded for Kayshon Boutte. They didn't give up much to get Kayshon Boutte. They gave up a 2028 7th-round pick, so basically the cheapest possible draft pick, and they traded Jalen Reed, who has upside as a safety, but has dealt with injuries, and now the Texans' safety position is a little bit more solidified than it was where you had Jimmy Ward and you tried C.J. Gardner-Johnson out. It's a little bit better now. Boutte has size. He has physicality, some speed as well. He's an LSU guy. He's got talent. Ended up falling into the Patriots' lap. Pretty good player against the Houston Texans over the last couple of years. I think he has 2 of the most beautiful touchdown catches you're going to ever see with Derek Stingley in coverage. I want to say it's something like over the 2 games he's gone up against the Texans, I think it's 6 catches for 120-something yards and 2 long touchdowns. He's done well against them. The Texans bring him in. Is he the number 2 receiver already? No. I think Jalen Noel's going to get a lot of looks. And I honestly thought the Texans were going to bet on themselves and say, hey, we're going to roll with the wide receiver group we have, next man up. But from the get-go, you saw some reporters saying the Texans were sniffing around at receiver, and they brought in Sterling Shepard, who I'm expecting nothing from, no offense. They brought in Zay Jones, who I'm expecting nothing from as well, no offense. But I thought that maybe Xavier Hutchinson would get a chance, and then we saw him against the Raiders in the preseason. It did not look very good. And it's a shame because I think Hutchinson is a very solid player. I think he's the exact kind of player that you want to have in terms of wide receiver depth if somebody gets hurt. But in a more full-time role, I don't know. So I think Boutte is going to be competing to be one of the receivers that's on the field lining up outside. It's him against Hutchinson. There's some familiarity with the New England system because Josh McDaniels is running something I would imagine that's pretty similar to Nick Caley, to whatever they're trying to do here. We'll see how it goes. The only real question I have is he a culture fit? And I say that because I think he's got some, not a lot, but some diva receiver tendencies based off of the very, very cryptic post that he had during a time where he probably realized with the Patriots trading for A.J. Brown and bringing in Romeo Doubs and liking Kyle Williams a lot that he's probably the 4th wide receiver. So maybe that's why the Texans didn't have to give up so much for him. They figured, man, he's going to be one of those players that's tough to keep on the roster, not exactly a special teams seeming player. I'll be honest, I don't know if he did or didn't with the Patriots. But they brought him in. This is the post and reference, by the way, in case you hadn't seen it. Yeah, this isn't bad, but it's just something to keep in mind. Maybe he's a little crazy. Maybe he's just a little crazy. But this ain't bad, you know? So Kayshon Boutte is a Houston Texan, and we will see what kind of contributions he will do this year. He's going to have to buy into the Houston Texans culture, and I don't know how many people saw this clip from D'Amico Ryans at practice today. We're getting closer to the end of training camp. Preseason wraps up Friday in Charlotte against the Panthers with a joint practice on Wednesday. Here is D'Amico Ryans talking about what he didn't like at practice today.
As a team, right, for us, the way we practice, it's not good enough. Today wasn't good enough from the standpoint of how we move the football. It wasn't good enough, and I challenged our guys to make sure we pick it up and operate that way. So we got a lot to improve upon. We're not there yet. Still got a lot of work to do. And for me, I think it's a culmination of guys coming off an off day. You're trying to get back into the swing of things, and it starts with us as coaches. Our coaches got to have the guys ready to play. They got to have the guys ready to practice, got to bring great energy so we don't waste days, right? And so we got a lot, again, to improve upon, a lot to make up after today.
Also of note at today's practice, where D'Amico Ryans holding team to the fire. I like that. I like that there is a commitment to excellence here on a day-to-day basis. So if anyone slacks off, he's going to call it out. Jadeveon Clowney's dealing with some sort of leg injury. I don't think it's going to be a Joe Mixon situation, but always tough to gauge how banged up a player is with how the Texans talk about him. I know that it wasn't D'Amico talking about Jaden Higgins the other day, but it was C.J. Stroud thinking he was going to be fine walking off the field the way that he did. Wade Woodaz had surgery, the rookie 4th-round pick with the pick 6 against the Raiders Thursday, to repair a broken thumb. Expectation is to be out this entire week before returning to play with a cast to prepare for the Bills. How about that?
It's football time in Houston, and we're ready to play.
That is swarmy AF. So we'll see how Boutte does with the Texans. Didn't give up much to get him. It's a good trade. It makes sense. I thought they were going to bet on themselves, and they didn't. Let's read some comments. Dom for real comments on TikTok. Let me copy this into the chat box. Nick Caserio is absolutely sending the message, no excuses. He's all in on this Stroud rookie contract. Dom continues saying, our coach and locker room will fix any diva mentality. It does feel like a pretty good guard against dudes buying into themselves a little bit too much. More comments. Paul Che comments on YouTube. I'm surprised New England even traded with an AFC contender like us. And yeah, it was shockingly cheap. Sometimes you get to a point where you realize the market for a player that everyone around the league thinks is going to be gone. And maybe this is why the protect the team stuff is so big these days and why the Texans are being so paranoid. Everyone knows everything. And I think everyone knew, hey, there's a logjam at receiver in New England. And Boutte, who is talented, is not looked at in the same way that the free agent acquisition Dobbs they brought in. Was it a trade or a free agent? I forget. I think it was free agent. Trading for A.J. Brown, of course. And then they like Kyle Williams a lot. Coffee Whiskey says they did this trade because of Caserio. I mean, it certainly helps to have relationships in other rooms that aren't just from having dealt with them in the past, because you take a look at Nick Caserio trades, he's done generally pretty well. So, hey, you at least want somebody that you somewhat trust, but due diligence has to be done. You don't want to end up being Rob Pelinka, not Rob Pelinka. You don't want to end up being Nico Harrison, who's friends with Rob Pelinka, a patsy for the LA Lakers a little bit ago. On Facebook, a couple of comments from Pete Solis. Boutte! And then he says, that Collins tank and Boutte going to be nasty. And don't forget, they just signed Jones and Shepard. Lots of experience and feeling good. Jones and Shepard aren't going to do much. I don't expect to see Tank Dell either. I was actually at a fantasy draft. This is one of those situations where my girlfriend was hanging out with her girlfriends, and her girlfriend's boyfriend, one of them was in a fantasy draft, so they had a fantasy draft at the house. So I sat in on the fantasy draft, and there were a couple of people who knew who I was, so it was fun to sit back, and people are acting like I know anything about fantasy football. I've been pretty bad the last couple of years, to be perfectly honest. But it was nice little ego boost. Shout out to those guys. Best of luck to them in their fantasy football season. All right. Deshaun Watson is the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. The Browns brown unlike anyone in the NFL. And I mean, that's just the Cleveland Browns way. How will we make our fan base angrier than they already are? Watson was named the Browns starting quarterback today over Shedeur Sanders, which, given his press conference after playing like dog shit against the Buffalo Bills on Saturday, is surprising. I thought they would cut him on Monday. They make him the starter. Watson, and I talked about this on 95.7 The Fan on Sunday with Reginald Atatula of In the Loop. On YouTube, there's a segment where I talked about it a little bit. I don't want to dive back into it too much today, what was said, but I mean, it was just a remarkably tone-deaf press conference. Remarkably tone-deaf. Which is saying something when it comes to Deshaun Watson, who has no idea what the idea of accountability is. But today, there's this thing that happens with me. I don't know why. I get conditioned to thinking that C.J. Stroud's Deshaun Watson, C.J. Stroud. And that's so unfair to C.J. Stroud. No matter what Watson was here with the Texans. But earlier today, after being announced as the Browns starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, spoke with the media. We're going to raw dog his opening statement. That might be a poor choice of words with him. Here is the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns apologizing.
Everyone ready? Good. First off, I want to address the comments from Saturday after the game. I think just...
You should have started, instead of saying address the comments, I want to apologize for the comments, and look directly into the camera. Can you try just once to be actually sorry for something? Because let's be frank, knowing him, he was probably encouraged to do this by Browns ownership, his coach maybe, and his PR team.
Human nature, just myself being very emotional, putting a lot of time these last 2 years to, get back and, spend time in this facility, in the city, meeting a lot of different people in the community. I thought I was going to get, a little different response, but, I think, my emotions got the best of me, and, my comments wasn't intending to go at any of the fans around in the city.
I mean, it was. Come on, dude. And you can be mad about the boos, but just keep it to yourself. You're not going to win, especially when you're playing poorly. If you're still mad about people cheering when you got injured, I can understand that. But they were cheering because you played so poorly and you got removed from the game, and they didn't think you were going to get removed from the game any other way, and they wanted to see Shedeur. Or anyone else. More Deshaun Watson.
Because there's been a lot of great fans that have been supporting me. And I know the frustration this organization have put, a lot of investment in coming, to get me back in 22.
No shit.
And
we thank you for it.
And things haven't been going the right direction that we thought it was. A lot of injuries, a lot of time off, and not putting the best football and my foot forward. So
he loves to talk about moving forward.
Again, just, I understand the frustration. I understand everything that kind of goes into that. And moving forward, I just want to focus on football, making sure that, I'm putting the best product out there having the best ability, you know, because I thrive off the energy. I thrive off the energy of the fans. I thrive.
Bullshit. You thrive off the energy of the fans, Deshaun. Come on. You thrive off good energy, and what player doesn't?
Off the energy of the community. I thrive off all that stuff. You know, I think looking back in my history at Clemson and, you know, previous at the Houston organization, you know, I was a big community guy,
Houston
big city
organization.
guy, big fan guy, you know, during
All right, that's enough. I mean, there was a moment in this press conference as well where Watson said, I thought I was going to get a different response. He thought he was going to get a different response to, like, kind of going after the fans. That's remarkable. As I said on Sunday with Reginald, I would kill to have so little self-awareness. You know, like, I'm doing this show. We don't get the best numbers. We appreciate everybody who stops by. Like, I know that I'm kind of a nobody. It's cool to get recognized out in public every now and then, but I know what it is. Maybe someday this thing will blow up. But I'm so self-aware, and I wish I was a little more delusional. I really do. I really wish that I was like James Harden, thinking I'm the best player in the NBA. Like, I'm the best sports talk show host out there. And don't get me wrong, I think I'm pretty good. I think I could put in a little more work. I feel like I've done a pretty good job of putting in extra work over the last couple of weeks, considering I'm doing a real 9-to-5 now. But I wish I had this level of delusion or entitlement where I think that everyone should move on because I've done a couple of nice things to check the boxes after all the shit I pulled in Houston. But that's the way he operates. That's how he rolls. But we'll see if he's able to move forward. And you know what? I'm not going to play that clip of Deshaun Watson saying forward 300,000 times in a row. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Let's hope that Deshaun Watson learned his lesson. Like our friend, Jed York. I hope Jed York learned his lesson. Did you learn your lesson, you naughty, naughty boy? Did you learn your lesson, you naughty, naughty boy? Anyone ever heard that song before? I have all these songs stuck in my head from my childhood. This is from a television show called Madeline, where Madeline sees this boy named Pepito, and she's like, "You're a bad boy." And then she starts singing him this song in a French accent. It's for Jed York right now.
Have you learned your lesson, you naughty, naughty boy? Have you learned your lesson, you naughty, naughty boy?
Have you learned your lesson, you naughty, naughty boy? Jed York, naughty, naughty boy of the week. Did anyone see that Jed York was arrested? And this is a rough photo that I'm about to show you. You should be watching along. This is not how you want to look. Jed York, everybody. You might be asking yourself, why did 49ers owner Jed York get arrested? Well, he was arrested in East Palestine, Ohio. Is that the place where the train crash took place? Jed York was arrested over the weekend and found guilty of 2 misdemeanor charges. He pled no contest to misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and possessing criminal tools. Records state he was originally charged with engaging in prostitution, but it was amended to the disorderly conduct charge he was found guilty of course, because he's a fucking rich dude. The reason for the amendment was not made immediately clear. I just made it clear for you. On Instagram, Adam Granados 8989 says, He ain't doing nothing we wouldn't do. Pay for sex? If you really gotta go to Happy Town, take yourself there. Don't do what Jed York did. Because we need to see what Jed York did. What is his criminal tools? I don't know. Per Ohio law, criminal tools are defined as adapted items, objects specifically built or modified to commit a crime, lockpicks, skeleton keys, commonly used items, crowbars, tape-covered flashlights, having control of explosives without a legitimate purpose. What? You don't carry explosives around? Innocuous everyday objects like cell phones, cash, pagers, or vehicles. Maybe it was a burner phone or something like that. But the deets are out. And this is where Jed York went to have himself a good old time. Does anyone think that Jed York could have done better than going here? Wheat Hill Mobile Home Community? This is what it's called. I mean, these look like nice mobile homes, all things considered. I'm not trying to disparage anybody who's in a mobile home. But if you're a billionaire who is a major owner of one of the most prestigious franchises in league history, I guess this is their second big owner scandal, by the way. I think Eddie DeBartolo, wasn't there something like money laundering or something like that with the Niners back in the day? Whatever, I forget. That's before my time. But this is where this man went to go get himself some fun. Just to have a little fun. Jed York arrested at the Wheat Hill Mobile Home Community because he responded to an ad on a known prostitution website in Columbiana County, Ohio, and arranged to have sexual activity with the female in exchange for $140. First off, I'm not disparaging the ladies of the night. I feel awful for them. I feel awful for the ones that are trapped in situations that are the result of human trafficking. And I also think that an owner that's going to a place like this, I mean, are you that disgusting? Right? Gonna go to a mobile home for $140 worth of fun? $140 worth of loving? What's the deal? I'm seeing a Deshaun Watson comparison. Well, Deshaun Watson was doing it under the guise of, I need a massage. And then he just flipped over and took his tiny towel off, and the rest is history. But Jed York, who has lots of money, going to a trailer park for an $140 night on the town. I don't know. It just seems reckless, careless, stupid. Huh? Am I going to get myself in trouble for this? Feels like you have options. One of them would be just taking somebody out on a very expensive date and seeing what happens. But you're going to go to the Wheat Hill Mobile Home Community for $140 worth of loving. Interesting. Interesting choice by Mr. Jed York. Huh? In Houston. Huh? This is an incredible video that you're about to see. You should be watching along on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like and subscribe on Twitch. Give me a follow. I'd appreciate a sub. Instagram at Sports Gallant. X at Gallant Says at Gallant Says Pod. If you're on TikTok, you want to move over to one of the other ones. You're also on Facebook at Gallant Says. In the United States of America, the police are going to try their best to wield that badge to get people to do stuff for them that maybe isn't legal. Why not ask? See what happens. But this is truly embarrassing, and this took place in Houston over the weekend. I'm going to show you the video in just a second. In a scene that is eerily reminiscent of the movie Superbad, you guys got to get a look of what this Uber driver, who is a veteran, thank you for your service, went through. He had a dash cam up. There's a man running. That man is not very fast. I think I would be able to catch that person in a sprint. Long distance, I don't know. And then there's a cop chasing after him. And you're going to find out it's a woman in a moment. She is not particularly fast. And then you're going to see another cop running after. I mean, this is the slowest cop alive. This is pathetic. How is this person a Houston police officer? Let's go back and rewind this just for a moment. Look how slow this. What you'll find out is a heavy-set woman. How is she a police officer? And why are these two chasing this man on foot? This man right here. Shirtless, possibly barefoot. I mean, he's barefoot. And look how slow these women are. The first one, not so bad. This woman looks like she's about to have a fucking heart attack. I like that the Uber driver laughed here. But here's the crazy part of the story. The cops decided, you know what? This guy's in his car. We're going to make him drive us to where we got to go.
Yeah.
Hey, give me a ride over there, please.
Hey, give me a ride over there, Uber driver. Police. And he was waiting to pick somebody up.
Go, drive that way.
Go, drive that way. Where's the please? Where's the please? Per law, you don't have to, if you're an Uber driver, allow a cop into your car and drive them anywhere. This guy's a veteran, perhaps accustomed to following orders, and he did follow orders.
Go, 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 go.
Go, 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 go. We're in a neighborhood, lady. If you were, I don't know, in any good shape whatsoever, you should have been able to catch that guy, who again looked barefoot. And we don't even know what he did. Why do we need two people to track this guy down? What did he do? And if you take a look at any of the stories online, no extra clarity is provided about what this guy actually did.
Pick her up, pick her up.
And now she's telling this guy to pick up the other cop who clearly lost this dude who was sprinting.
Delian, get in! Delian! Go, go, go.
And I mean, I'm guessing there was some sort of time lapse there.
I'm in here!
And this continues for about like 2 minutes or so. And they eventually get somewhere and they decide to get out of the car.
Sorry, west on.
And I don't know if they actually see the guy.
That's him?
Both of these women, again, heavy set and pretty slow looking.
That's him?
And I don't think they found him. Where's the hustle? You just had plenty of time to rest. This is pathetic. This is one of the most pathetic displays I've ever seen by the police. Ever. And specifically just the running after that guy. How are you fit to be a cop? What are the standards to be a cop in 2026? Where these two ladies on the weekend are tasked with protecting and serving. Could they beat my ass? I don't know, probably. It's not that hard to do. But this is who's protecting us? Two out-of-shape women who commandeered a Uber to find someone who did something and then get out of said Uber. And what are they doing here? Are they actually going to find this guy? I mean, there's 3 to 4 minutes going around in a circle. Did they actually find him? Or did this guy just go back to where he was before and they're about to get in their cop car that's over to the, if you're watching along, that's over right here. Wild story. Houston Police Officers Union President Doug Griffith cleared the air, explaining that while officers always appreciate a helping hand, nobody is legally forced to play getaway driver for the cops. There is nothing that prohibits anyone from doing it, Griffith said. There is also nothing that prohibits them from going, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be involved. There's nothing that forces or compels anyone to help out. Griffith praised the driver for stepping up to help officers who were chasing what he joked was the fastest kid alive. I mean, he's just stealing a joke from Superbad there. He's just stealing a joke. And what's sad about that is looking like you're Seth Rogen as a cop. Kind of incompetent there. I'm glad this guy shared it. We thank him for his service. What's the driver's name again? Anthony Baines, Army veteran. This took place August 7th. Officers had responded to a terroristic threat call on 7th Street after a man threatened to shoot a woman and her kids at an apartment pool. When officers tried to detain the suspect, he broke free and took off running. He broke free? Okay, so this is a legitimate reason to track the guy down. He broke free and he ran away. And he looks like he was just at the pool. Was he in flip-flops? Imagine you're one of these Biggleby police officers and you're getting outrun by a dude in flip-flops or barefoot on a street. I mean, just absolutely embarrassing. Watch it for yourself. Fox 26 has the actual video. Also, one more fun Houston story. If you've listened or watched the Gallant Says podcast before, you might be familiar with Carla Wyatt. Who is Carla Wyatt? Carla Wyatt is the Harris County Treasurer. She has a PhD. She's a doctor. It's in environmental toxicology. She was elected in 2022, took office the 1st of 2023. Since taking office, she has been arrested 3 times. December 2023, arrested for a DWI. In 2024, she violated bond conditions twice, failing to install the ignition interlock device with a high BAC reading on the device once. But she did a pretrial diversion program, and the charge was dismissed. At the time that this charge was dismissed, she was serving on the Bail Bond Board. December of last year, not too long after she went through the pretrial diversion program, she was arrested on a misdemeanor charge of burglary of a vehicle after restaurant employees alleged she entered an unlocked car in a parking lot and rifled through items. Her attorneys cited medical issues, including a possible mini stroke / cerebrovascular concerns. A grand jury declined to indict her. Medical issues? Who's this attorney? And then May of 2026, she was arrested for DWI. An officer found her asleep in the driver's seat of a vehicle with the ignition on in the left lane of a highway. Jesus. She's lucky to be alive. Around 1:30 to 2 a.m., she told the officer she was in heaven. Jesus. Showed signs of intoxication. I forgot about that detail. And failed field sobriety tests. The pending Class B misdemeanor charge, I believe, is still in effect. So since then, she's been stripped of some of her oversight functions because she's also had a little bit of fraud via check. And at this moment in time, people are looking to abolish the treasurer's office, perhaps as soon as next year. There is an election later this year. She faces Republican Mark Cowart. She needs to be voted out. If Mark Cowart loses, if I were in his shoes, I would quit politics. Like, I would never try again if I can't beat this person. So you might be wondering, okay, well, what's the latest story with her? Well, Carla Wyatt is seeking a raise. She makes $139,547 a year. She filed a grievance requesting $250,000. And then after all those Harris County constables got over $300,000 in salary increases, she requested for that. Now, you might think I'm about to get mad at this, but no, you know what? If you're in power and you do all of these things and you stay in power, fuck it. Why not? Ask for a raise. What's the worst that's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? Just ask. You going to get in trouble? No. You can't even get in trouble for DWIs. What is it? 2 incidents plus an incident where she's not installing the ignition lock device? So through this grievance process, a panel of 9 Harris County residents recommended a 30% raise for Wyatt from $139,000 to $181,000. And I mean, she needs it for all the expenses, I would imagine, the lawyer fees. But imagine getting a 30% raise after not 1, not 2, but 3 incidents where you're getting arrested. Imagine having the audacity, much like Deshaun Watson, to ask for any raise, let alone a raise from $139,000 to $305,000. That is an over 100% raise. She asked for that. And then she asked for $250,000. And she's going to get the raise. I'm impressed. You might think I'm mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. This is a country where what you've got to do is you've just got to ask. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Sometimes the drunk wheel gets the grease. Sometimes the person who's falling asleep in the car gets the grease. Sometimes the person having the medical episode who breaks into somebody else's car gets the grease. You just got to ask. You got to believe in yourself. Believe you're going to get that raise. Manifest it. And the only way to manifest it is by asking for it. Congratulations to Dr. Carla Wyatt. She's putting that big brain to use. What are you doing? Yeah, that's right. Maybe we all go in tomorrow to work and ask for a raise. But only ask for a raise if you've been a bad performer. Because you got to show stones. You got to show courage. You got to show mettle. And that's what Dr. Carla Wyatt did. Wasn't a fan of her the first time I talked about her, but now, honestly, I respect her. I respect the hustle. We wish her the best of luck. Listen, if the Treasury office is going to get just yanked, fuck it. Get all the money you can, especially when you got legal fees. Ask for that raise. apparently what happened as well for the vote, the meeting was delayed because they didn't have enough people to vote. The panel convened, heard testimony, and voted 6-3 for the Rays. The members were generally unfamiliar with her specific duties and had limited prep time. Well, listen, you might be in the minority as far as people who are aware of who Dr. Carla Wyatt is. Next time, say you're an alternate for the Harris County panel to determine who gets raises. Maybe you can do something about it. But in the meantime, if you find yourself in a situation where you get arrested 3 times for DWI and you have the chance to ask for a 100+% raise, do it. See what happens. See what happens. That's a doctor at work, everybody. And on that note, guys, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. We appreciate everybody who stopped by. If you haven't already, please like this video on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video on TikTok if you're watching along. Follow me on TikTok for clips of the show. Follow me on Instagram at Sports Gallant, Facebook at Gallant Says, X at Gallant Says Pod for clips of the show. We appreciate all our Twitchers as well. We love a follow. We'd appreciate a sub. If you ever have a question, you can send a text message or leave a voicemail to 281-836-3912. It is a real number, not a real phone number, but we do respond to it. And you could also send me an email, GallantSays@gmail.com. I do want to get a little more interactive. I want like really thought out questions, hypotheticals, as part of a mailbag segment that we will do at the very end. It's also available after the fact in Apple and Spotify in podcast form. Subscribe. Give me a 5-star rating on wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. This will be posted as an entire episode, and we will also post some clips of the show as well. Segments, I guess. Anyway, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Not sure what time I'll be on 95.7 The Fan on the weekends, if I will be on the weekends coming up on 95.7 The Fan. I've been on the last 2 Saturday and Sundays, which has been great. We'll see if I'm on this weekend. Hopefully I am. But until Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Time, so long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you